Russia is in panic. More than 100 drones attacked 11 regions. An oil refinery is on fire. Ukrainian armed forces drones bring chaos and fear. FP2 drones target the occupiers on the front line. Strike bombs tear everything apart in their path. Luhansk is holding on. The Kremlin is lying. The Ukrainian armed forces are smashing enemy equipment to pieces. A complete collapse of calm in Russia. Drones, explosions, hysteria, and this is just the beginning. I'll tell you all the details in a moment. Greetings. This is Ukraine Today. I am Victoria Panchenko, and here are the latest events. Things have been unsettled in Russia. Unknown drones visited 11 regions and also flew over the waters of the Black Sea. Due to attacks by more than 100 drones, flights were suspended at Russian airports and a drone danger alert was declared in several regions. An oil refinery was targeted. Drones attacked Novokuybyshevsk. There are reports of strikes. The UAVs likely targeted an oil refinery. An air raid alert was declared in the Samara region shortly after midnight. There was also information that a planned cover was introduced at the Samara airport. Local residents began reporting explosions in the Samara region after 3 o'clock in the morning. Residents of the Samara region complained that they were woken up by loud noises. In total, about 10 powerful explosions were heard. Eyewitnesses also reported bright flashes in the sky. Asymptonales showed that the flashes after the attack on Novokuybyshevsk appeared directly above the local oil refinery. In the footage filmed by local residents, at least 3 explosions are captured.
The city of Novokuybyshevsk, located in Russia.
The Novokuybyshevsk oil refinery is a major Russian enterprise that is part of the Rosneft structure. Its design capacity is about 8.8 million tons of oil per year. The refinery is of strategic importance for Russia's military-industrial complex and for supplying its army. Because of this, the refinery has repeatedly become the target of UAV attacks during Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, since damaging such facilities is aimed at undermining Russia's military-industrial base and limiting its ability to supply its troops with fuel and lubricants. In occupied Luhansk, the evening also started off well and, most importantly, quietly. Let us recall that the day before, Ukraine's defense forces carried out a successful operation on the territory of the aggressor country. In particular, effective strikes were delivered against a military plant in Cheboksary. You can find more details further on. Steel birds attacked the city of Cheboksary in Russia. Explosions were heard in several districts and fires broke out on the grounds of a radio electronics manufacturing plant. Local social media pages published videos of the explosions and smoke over the city. Some posts emphasized that this is not the first attack on this or neighboring facilities in recent months. According to Russian and Ukrainian media, the strike targeted JSC DNER Progress. The enterprise produces components vital for the Russian defense industry, including antenna modules and electronic warfare protection systems. Therefore, a strike on it could have strategic significance and impact the supply chains of these components. The first explosions occurred at around 2:40 a.m. As the strike approached, the roar of engines could be heard, followed by explosions and plumes of black smoke rising over the city. But most importantly, the local residents howled as the plant was hit. By the way, thank you for the detailed account of the attack drone's flight. Now,
So basically, I'm waiting, timing it, and the trail should have arrived. There shouldn't be any shrapnel. In theory, it shouldn't reach here, logically speaking. Anyway, there was some kind of commotion over there. There was a commotion over there, somewhere around here there was a commotion. Things got pretty intense. Well, anyway, we're just sitting and waiting. I calculated roughly, it was in Cheboksary about 5 minutes ago. It was in Ishli 2 minutes ago. And any minute now, it should arrive here, somewhere in Cheboksary. I don't know if we'll get to see this spectacle or not. But I think, what am I thinking, damn? I think that as long as it's not the brewery, but everything else we... In fact, actually, as a matter of fact, the highly interconnected network system.
Many videos from this scene are being posted online. Some sources report downed drones. Attempts to use air defense ended the same way as always. The work of the world's best electronic warfare is obvious.
I can't see for sure. There it goes. Do you see it? It's sniffing around, it's falling. There, well, let me think for a moment. There, it's flying somewhere. Where is it? There. Whoa. Oh my, wow, so really,
The hysteria in the swamps is only getting worse. Russians are panicking over the drone invasion, and now Ukraine has rolled out the FP2 strike drone, which is capable of carrying a 100-kilogram FAB aerial bomb. The Soviet-made aerial bomb is used without its tail section. What this means for the enemy directly on the front line will explain further in the report.
Russia's worst nightmare, or rather the reason they can't sleep, is the new Ukrainian strike drone FP2. The FP2 is specifically used to strike at the Russian military positions in the rear. It can also carry an adapted aerial bomb as its warhead.
And the FP2 drone is specifically designed for strikes, particularly with a penetrating warhead like this. It's not soft like regular drones. Instead, it uses a 100-kilogram FAB-100 bomb with the tail section removed as its warhead. In other words, this drone can strike targets quite effectively because the FAB-100, for example, was the main bomb of World War II and the most widely used bomb. And at the same time, it can hit targets with high precision.
Information about the use of these drones is confirmed both by the occupiers and by Ukrainian soldiers themselves, who show them in action against the enemy across the Donbas. The OFAP marking indicates that this is a fragmentation high explosive munition designed to strike unprotected and lightly protected targets.
The FP2 can hit both stationary targets and, in certain cases, moving targets as well. And this is a very important point because, for example, it allows you to strike the same Iskander missile launchers as they move into position.
The Ukrainian company Firepoint has introduced the FP2 strike drone in the middle strike class. It replicates the design of the long-range FP1 drone, which is used to strike targets in the rear of the Russian army.
This is, so to speak, a modernization of the long-range FP1 drone, which has a range of up to 1,400 kilometers. The FP2 has retained the same design but is smaller in size. Apparently, it has a smaller wingspan, and its operational range is strictly limited to a maximum distance of approximately 200 kilometers. This specific area is precisely where the main bulk of the army level, as well as front-level depots, along with the essential logistics centers, are typically located and concentrated. That's why this strike zone is very important.
The manufacturers offer the system both with a classic stationary launcher and a mobile version for rapid deployment disguised as a regular army truck.
You can drive up as close as 10 kilometers to the front line, quickly launch, and quickly leave the strike zone.
It is noted that the relative affordability and availability of drones, combined with a heavy warhead, allows Ukraine to a certain extent to compensate for the shortage of high-precision missile weaponry. FP-2
can be considered a high-precision munition. Why? A camera is installed on it. In the area, let's say about 10 kilometers from the front line, a relay is suspended. And this drone flies like an FPV, meaning it has a camera on board and strikes the target with precision. In other words, the operator sees the target before striking it.
Experts note that due to their low flight altitude and sheer numbers, drones can bypass and overwhelm the Russian army's air defense systems, which in certain situations can be more effective than strikes from HIMARS missile systems. Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
The armed forces are pushing back the enemy, defending all lines and smashing the occupiers' equipment to pieces. Successful disposal. The Korodak pilots in the Kupiansk direction destroyed the occupiers' camouflaged equipment. They published a video of their combat operations on their channel. The armed forces are doing the impossible. Kupiansk, which the Kremlin falsely claims to have captured, is holding out thanks to the efforts of Ukrainian defenders. Find out what's happening in and around the city right now. Watch this minute.
Another lie from Russian propaganda has trapped Russians in the snare of their own statements. I
cannot show certain signs or say specific words live on air. But I understand that today, once again, Putin needs to be sent in the direction of the Russian warship.
Apparently, the top leadership of the Russian Federation forgot to take their prescribed pills. They imagined that their troops had blocked 15 battalions of the Ukrainian armed forces and had full control over Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region. This is what the so-called Chief of the General Staff, Gerasimov, reported during Bunkerman's visit to one of the command posts of the West Group.
The units of the West Group have liberated the city of Kupiansk and continues the destruction and formation of the Ukrainian armed forces, who are surrounded on the left bank of the Oskil River.
The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces refuted the Kremlin statement, explaining that counter-sabotage operations and special actions to search for and eliminate enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups are ongoing in the city and its surroundings. As of
today, the Russian occupiers are only on the outskirts. Things are going very badly for them there. I wouldn't say the situation there is easy or, accordingly, that today it's just all rosy. No, today the defense forces are making considerable efforts there to carry out the necessary actions and block the enemy, not to give them the opportunity to advance further and in fact to push them back from those tactical positions that the Russians managed to capture earlier. And this is happening gradually. We are pushing the enemy away from Kupiansk.
the Russian leadership deliberately makes such statements to them. First of all, they are trying to show Russians that they supposedly have achievements in Ukraine in order to justify their losses. Their economy is going to hell, but they want to prove that everything is going according to plan. This is what Yuri Fedorenko, commander of the 429th Separate Achilles Unmanned Systems Regiment, says.
The Kremlin's second goal is to put pressure on Ukrainians. Similar statements make their way into Ukraine's information space. And it is Ukrainians themselves who can be misled if they do not analyze the information. The third goal is to influence Donald Trump, who doesn't understand the details. Back in Alaska, Putin convinced Trump that he would capture all of Donbass and Kupiansk. That's why the Kremlin is now passing off wishful thinking as reality.
The Kupiansk direction remains a difficult spot on the map of Ukraine. In the city itself, the defense forces managed to tie down the enemy's assault units and force them into intense urban combat. The enemy is suffering huge losses and cannot advance beyond the outskirts. Meanwhile, Ukrainian troops continue, gradually, step by step, block by block, to push the occupiers back to their homeland. At
the moment, the Russian assault groups near Kupiansk are practically cut off from ground supply and ground logistics. Logistics are being carried out using heavy drones. It should be noted that Russia is not using the tactic of infiltration by small assault groups of up to 3 people. Instead, they are focusing on amassing forces and accordingly on further attempts to take control, specifically of logistics and the location of Ukrainian defense forces. In addition, the occupiers are using the so-called flag-sticking tactic. That is, when a group of 2 or 3 people runs into a particular area of Kupiansk that is in the gray zone, meaning a territory not controlled by either side, they raise the Russian tricolor, film it, and present this as objective evidence, supposedly showing that this particular neighborhood of Kupiansk is already under the direct control of Russian occupation forces.
Right now, the main objective for both sides is to cut off or at least significantly complicate logistics. And despite all the difficulties of the situation, be it weather conditions or a shortage of personnel, Ukrainian defenders are handling it masterfully. That's
all the news for now. We look forward to your comments. Stay tuned for more updates on the main events. And don't forget to like the video. Wishing you peaceful skies above.